Hello, this is Christy Fulk with Create with Christy. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, and I'm here to share with you this card that I made last week at a crafting retreat I was at. I used the beautiful Positive Thoughts stamp set that's in the January to June mini catalog from Stampin' Up! I love the stamp set from the get-go, but then when they came out with dies during the coordination product release, made it even more special. And I'll be showing you the dies and the stamps here in a minute, and I'll demonstrate the card. Okay, first off, I want to show you the beautiful stamp set and die set. This is the Positive Thoughts. I love the images in this. See, it's just gorgeous. But then when they came out with the dies, it just made it even more special. I love that we've got dies to cut out the images. These 4 images here can be cut out with their own dies. And with this card today, I'm also using the extra one they've got with it's a frame. It's actually a rectangle. I'll show you how to turn it into a frame. And then we need these and the butterfly. And I'm not using it today, but I really like this border on here too. A lot of neat dies. Okay, now I'm going to show you the other dice set I'm using. This is the stitched rectangle dies. It's in the annual catalog. And normally, excuse me, normally I use this side, but I'm going to be using the second smallest one over on this side. Okay, now ready to go. Need a piece of thick Very Vanilla, and whenever I use thick cardstock, I score it in the middle first. And whenever you fold, you want to make sure that the hill is actually the inside of the fold. I know you might have thought it was the other way, but you're actually supposed to have it so the hill is on the inside. So that's ready to go. Now I'm going to bring in a piece of regular Very Vanilla. This is a 4x5 1/4. And I'm going to bring in my crumb cake ink pad and a sponge. And I'm going to sponge the edges of this piece. I wanted it to look a little more vintagey looking, or rustic looking, whatever word you want to use. I used to sponge all the time, and I'm starting to do it again because I really like the look. Okay, that looks pretty good. But see how that just really made it more vintage looking? I really like that. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and grab a scrap piece of Very Vanilla, and I'll bring that crumb cake ink pad back in. And using my Friends Like You Mean More Every Year, stamp that here in the middle. It doesn't have to be right in the middle because we're going to die cut that in a little bit. So put that over to the side. I love the font. It's just gorgeous. Okay, now I'm bringing another piece of Very Vanilla. This is a 6.5 by 3 3/4. And I'm going to stamp, let's see, we'll stamp the leaves first. And this is with Pear Pizzazz ink. Because it's big, I'm going to make sure I got it real well. So let's do this. There we go. I'm going to stamp it right here. And then I'm going to stamp it, I think we're going to go the other direction to make sure I've got plenty of room. That way I can get a little closer. You don't want to get too close because you're going to die cut it, but we got plenty of room for die cutting. So you need 2 of those. Then I need 2 of the flower image, and I'm using So Saffron ink for this one. Go ahead and stamp it a couple times. And I always hold the stamp down a little for a few seconds after when it's on the cardstock so the ink gets a chance to soak in. So there are my 2 pretty flowers. I just love the images in this set. And then this is the butterfly with the Rococo rose. There, and all the stamping's done. Okay, now I'll bring in my die cutting machine. And first off, we'll do the easy stuff, and then I'll show you. The frame's not hard to do at all. It takes a little more explaining. So right now I'm going to go ahead and grab my images, and I think I can fit this greeting. Yep, I can fit that on here too. So I think what I'll do, I will take and do one of these. You just line up the opening around the image, the opening in the die around the image. Now this one's a little trickier. This one is sticking out a little more, and this one's sticking out. So let's see if that lines it up. Yep, that was it. A lot of times I'll find a petal that sticks out more or just looks a little different than the others, and that usually helps you be able to line it up easier. So there we go. We've got that one ready. Now I'm going to put this one on the butterfly. I think I can do this one at the same time without moving everything. That looks pretty good. My flower moved just a little bit because my finger hit it. Okay, and then I want to bring in this stitched rectangle for my greeting. That looks pretty good. Just get that centered. Run it through the die cutting machine. And because it's just, they're framelets, framelit-like dies, you don't need to put it through twice. Let's go ahead and get these out. So much easier than having a fussy cut. So there's my butterfly. There's one of the flowers. And, oops, one of the leaves. And we have one more flower and one more leaf to do. Let me go ahead and get this out. Let's see if we can do these together. I think we've got room in between. You don't want the dies to be too close together because they end up hitting each other and then it doesn't cut real well. But I've got plenty of room. Good. Always like it when I can consolidate everything. I don't think, yeah, that's too thick, so we can't do that one yet. So I'm going to move this down a little bit. Get that going. We're almost done die cutting, and then we'll put this together. Get that out of the way. Okay, I'm done with these two dies, so I'll put those in there. And I'm done with the rectangle. Now we're ready for the frame. So first off, I'm going to take this rectangle die that has the really neat embossing on it. I really like this die. Put that on here. It doesn't have to be right in the middle, just as long as it's definitely not hanging off of the cardstock. Sometimes with frames, if you go at an angle, they tend to cut a little better. I don't think we're having trouble with this one, though. Okay. Oops. And there it is with the embossing around it. Isn't that neat? Now this looks good just like this, and then I could have added the images to it, but I wanted that to be a frame to get a different look. So let me show you how to do that real quick. I'm going to bring my paper cutter in. Hopefully you can see this in the video. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to do the long sides first. I just thought this made it easier. Okay, now what we're going to do, we're going to line the right edge with the 1/4 inch mark right here. I like having some measurements here on the right side. Then this is my cutting blade here. And if you look at the blade, you can see these lines on here. That lets you know where the blade is at. So this line that's right here, this little groove, I'm going to line it up with the 1/4 inch mark here in the arm. Got my light shining on it. I had a little trouble seeing it. There we go. Bring this down. And then I'm going to start cutting and stop at 4 1/8. Almost there. I'm at an angle, so I'm trying not to go too far. Okay, that looks pretty good. So now I've got to cut here. Now I'm going to turn it around and do the other long side. Do the same thing. Line it up at the 1/4 inch mark. Line the blade at the 1/4 inch mark. Close this down. And you want to hold on to that blade as you close it down because it can move on you. And then go back down to the 4 1/8. I'm sorry. There we go. Ready to go. So now I can just turn this. I'm going to line this up at the 1/4 inch again here on the cutter, but I can line this line up with the cuts in the paper. So I've got this line lining up with that cut, and I'm going to stop where that cut's at there. Okay, line it up at a 1/4 inch again. Line the left line up in the blade with the cut that's already in there, and stop at the next cut. And there's the frame. Easy peasy. Wasn't that easy? Once you get started, doing those long lines really help it, so then you don't have to measure with the short ones. You just cut from cut to cut. And this can be used for something else. I'm not using it today, though. So now we've got our frame. I'm going to bring in the card base and the base layer that I sponged. Let's go ahead and we'll put the frame on like this. I'm going to do it at an angle. So I'm going to use some of my snail. Definitely make sure you've got them in the corners and along the long edge of the frame. That way it doesn't come off. Put it on at an angle. Now I'm going to start laying down some of these flowers. And when I was figuring out where I wanted it, first I was laying everything down before I started adhering stuff to make sure it looked good. So I'm just going to show you this real quick, and I'll take it all off because I've got my little card to look at, so I know where they need to go now. But this is how I planned it out. So once you lay it all down, it looks good, then you can just start sliding pieces out and doing it. But I think the easiest way is to take the flowers off. If I can get a hold of them. There we go. And I do know I want that there. So I'll go ahead and take some adhesive, because once you've got it placed, you can kind of remember where it goes. And sometimes I will put some snail on it, but then I don't put it on real hard. I don't press it down real hard in case I want to bring it up and move it. So I just laid that down so it's not stuck real well yet. And that's the way, what I want it to be. That way I can move it if I need to. And then this one about right there. That looks pretty good. So I'm just laying that down. It's got pushing it down just a little bit so it does stay down for me. Now I'm going to use one of my flowers. I'm going to put it, let's see, I like the look of it that way. Something like that. And then this one right on top. Kind of up a little bit, because I'm going to be covering up part of the flowers with the greeting. So that looks pretty good. So I'm going to go ahead and push these down. And then with the butterfly, this is what I do with a lot of my butterflies. If you've seen any of my videos before, I'm just putting snail right along the center here. And then kind of playing around with it. I'm going to put it down here. Like so. And this way I can keep my finger down. And only the center is attached. That way I can fold those little butterfly wings up. Now it's ready to go on the card. I'm gonna put the greeting on last because I use dimensionals with it, and I just think it's easier to put layers on. Ooh, I just put it in my ink pad. Pretend I didn't do that. I'm sure that's happened to you, and I'm going to make another card. Oh, that's frustrating. Okay, so now we've got this on. Maybe I can make it work somehow. I'm going to go ahead and put this on with dimensionals. See, even demonstrators have those things happen to them. Don't like it when it happens in a video, though. Okay, so I'm going to put this right here. And it's still a pretty card, even with some of the ink marks I didn't want on it. But I'll bring in the one that doesn't have the ink marks so you can really see what it looks like. So I hope you enjoyed today's card. If you like this card and you want to see the other videos that I make sure to subscribe to my channel. And you can do that in the bottom right corner of the video. And also make sure that you click on that little bell that's next to it. If you want, once you get to the subscribe page, hit the bell next to it and you'll get notified whenever I have a video pop up. I hope you enjoyed the video. And also I do want to let you know, I keep forgetting to mention this in my videos, I do have a Doily Rewards program. This program, I have a link to it down below in the video description. You can earn a $50 shopping spree from me, and I even pay the shipping and tax for you. So if you want to know more about that, just click on the Doily Rewards link below. And you can also follow me on my Facebook and Pinterest and Instagram. So I hope you have a great day. Bye.